Afternoon and welcome to today's Quick Bite. My name is Madeline Holzer. I'm the Education Events Specialist here at Zahn. I'd like to welcome you today and thank you for spending the quick 30 minutes with us. Today we have Edwin Key. He's a Master Dental Technician and Dental Technologist, an Associate Professor at LSU School of Dentistry. Today he's going to be discussing Zirlux Transition for full contour zirconia implants. I do want to remind you that at the end of our session, we will have time for a quick Q&A. If you have a question for Edwin during our session, please utilize the questions tab in your toolbar, and we can answer your questions as time allows at the end of our session. Welcome, Edwin.
Thank you so much, everybody. Good afternoon to you guys. So as Madeline said, my name is Edwin. And this is pretty much where I'm from, and this is my family. We took this picture up in Arkansas in Hot Spring before the COVID hit, and that's my family. And also, I was truly blessed this year to be nominated as a CDT of the Year by the NADLNBC committee. So I'm truly blessed to be part of this technology thing. So let's jump into this. So I was given a chance to try out the Zirlux Transition about a few months ago, and I had a chance to listen and see what this material is all about. And to my surprise, this is actually one of the prettiest material I've ever seen so far. The special uniqueness of this material is because of the hydrocolloidal technique that they came up with. And it's not like any other materials like Prime or Katana or anything like that that has material layers in different layers. This is actually colloidal together to get you the transition from cervical to incisal. So it doesn't have the lining that you will see in some of the materials that when you finish staining, you will see those, but with this, you will not see any lining at all. Okay. So this material is actually up to 1200 megapascal. It has 48% translucency. This is actually made in America by a company that actually works with Zahn Dental right now. And they actually pretty much have every shades that's available to you in the industry. And also they came in 98mm pucks in the same size that they have, that every other company has. Okay, so what is the transition of this? You can use this for anything from implants to inlays, onlays, crowns, full hybrids, pretty much anything you want to do for zirconia wise, this material will be able to support them all together. The only things that you cannot do with this is that if you don't design your framework correctly or over implants, if you don't design them correctly, they will fracture. So for this, it's actually a very good material that you can use for pretty much anything you want. Just a little background for you. Okay, so the biggest problem, the biggest thing with this new product that I have tried is that it is very important to calibrate your furnaces. Why is it important to calibrate your furnace? Most of us technicians who use zirconia will not even know to calibrate their ovens altogether, or even clean their ovens. Do we know how to clean our ovens? Not really, because most people don't even, the companies don't tell you that we need to clean the ovens. How do we clean our ovens? We need to be able to send our oven into the highest temperature possible to be able to get rid of the oxide layer that's built up on the heating elements using a pure white zirconia block. You just place it on the inside of the furnace, any furnace you have, just make sure you place it in there and you send out the highest temperature possible and hold it for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. What that does is that it will start breaking apart those particles, the oxide layer or chemical layer that has been sitting inside your furnace, they will start falling off. That will help clean out your oven. Once that oven is clean, we will need to start calibrating the oven. So with Zahn, they came out with a puck, pretty much like a circle ring that you send up to your temperature that you're set on, okay? And that temperature helps you to be able to notify what is true temperature of your oven that you're supposed to be firing in. For example, if you're firing your zirconia in 1500, and then you send your ring up to sinter and it comes out to the size that is not right, you see the true reading of the temperature. Why is this considered important, especially for Zirlux transition? Is because the temperature changes your color of your material. Okay, so on this chart right here, on a small chart on the side, you'll see this different percentage of how much a ring shrink, and with that shrinkage, it allows you to know that what kind of temperature that it's been set on. Okay, so if the temperature is firing too high or too low, your zirconia will not get a true shade of your zirconia, especially with Zirlux transition. It is very, very critical that we have to be on the right temperature and knowing that what we have to fire them on. Okay, so if you know that your oven is dirty and it haven't been cleaned forever and hasn't been calibrated, this is a good way to go through your cycle to make sure that your oven is back to optimal condition before you work on your zirconia. Okay, so this is what the range of zirconia you can actually see down here. Even though it says that it's supposed to be fired at 1500 degrees, the temperature changes will actually make your zirconia to have a different shade. Okay, the example is pretty much right on the side here that tells you that this is what it will look like if you are firing the same shade puck and the firing temperature is different, you will get different results. So this is a very interesting material. Why I say that is because you can actually control your zirconia now. Instead of having a A2, you can actually have an A2.5 by changing your temperature. Or you can get an A1.5 by lowering and or higher your temperature. That helps to be able to control your shade better, so that it helps you to be able to know what shade you're going to get into. Okay, so this is your firing chart that's on the side here. It tells you what is the climbing rate and it has to be on and how the whole time that it needs to be in. So this is a case that I did. This was designed on ExoCAD and it was actually built on the InLab software. And we sintered this after we calibrate our oven twice, trying to get our true temperature right. It took us a few times to get it right, but this is how beautiful it came out milled. The material looks very strong and very pretty, and it has the color that we need, and the gradient of the color is actually right onto where we need to be. Okay, so if you look at the picture right here, this is actually the radiation of the color from cervical to incisal. It actually gives you the incisal color that you want without having to see any lining or demarcation of materials from debonding, because this material is made out of hydrocolloidal technique that the company has held proprietorship to. So we do not see the blending of the demarcation line at all whatsoever. All right, let's talk about the pink. So right now in the industry, there's a lot of pink that everybody is jumping on board, from porcelain itself to 3D paste that is everybody saying, hey, Mayo is the way to go. And I have actually have a chance to try out a lot of companies' material out there, and honest truth is just pretty much comes down to what you like. And you can actually use this layered ceramics like Nortaki, GC, pretty much any ceramics that's out there, and you use this pink porcelain that they have to be able to create a 3D porcelain if you want to. All you have to do is using the same pink, use a thicker liquid, mix it up, so kind of like honey consistency, and you use that to build your pink. Okay, so what is so special about pink 3D porcelain compared to enamel layered porcelain? Honestly, that's not too much of a difference. It's just a pretty much a bigger height, because people say that that's a way to control them better. And I have found out that they don't make that much of a difference. It's just a lot easier because they already pre-mixed. They all come in a can, and all you gotta do is just mix it up a little bit more and just paint it on. We can get the same results if we use Nortaki porcelain, Ivoclar porcelain, or any other porcelain that we have, and you can layer them on there easily doing the same way. So it just comes down to, it's just what your preference is. Doesn't mean that you have to go buy a new kit just because everybody in the market is telling you that you need to get on 3D shades. Okay, so this is how we layered our Zirlux transition. We actually used the Ceramotion powder that they came in with, and we go in there and we just put in the different colors that's on there. There's a paste technique that we just apply onto the cervical area. The enamel from the tooth itself has already been done. We do not have to worry about controlling any part of that. So all we gotta do is making sure our pinning is done correctly. Now, the biggest part about sintering any zirconia, doesn't matter, not sintering, firing porcelain on the zirconia hybrids like this, is that the biggest thing that we will see is that we need to make sure the control of our temperature. Even though any other companies will tell you that your firing cycle for your pink porcelain is going to be only 15 minutes or 18 minutes, we have to extend our firing cycle to 2 to 3 hours. Why is that considered important? It is because zirconia doesn't release heat correctly. Okay, it releases heat really slow. So if we go through the same cycle as what the manufacturer recommends us to use, the zirconia will fracture on us. Doesn't matter if Zirlux or Ivoclar Prime or even Nortaki hybrids, they all will fracture because the cooling takes forever to do it. So we have to go down to at least a room temperature of 200 degrees before we remove that from a porcelain oven. So every layer that you apply on here, for this, we take about 3 layers to apply them because we want the colors to be on where we want it to be. We have to go in the oven for almost 2.5 hours before it cools down. Okay, so once that's done, we'll go and apply the glaze. You can actually apply enamel layer or light staining on the inside of the Zirlux, but for me, we do not need to use it because the translucency of this material is beautiful. It's already created in there for us. So do you say that what's so special about this product compared to anybody else? It's just the nature look of this material makes it stand out stronger than anybody else. All right. So with that said, we gotta make sure that we can control our temperature correctly. Without controlling the temperature, you will have fracture rate coming out. So what is the difference of your control temperature on your oven? We will have to control them on the cooling cycle. The ramping up is not going to change any much difference than what the company tells you for your pink porcelain or your 3D paste. The difference part is that when you're cooling down, we have to cool it down slowly with the oven chamber closed. Okay, so with that, what it means is that once it hits the high ramp, it gets to 850 or 750, depending on what kind of porcelain you use. It has to stay in the temperature for 2 minutes, and then it starts ramping down. Ramping it down with the chamber closed. Chamber has to be closed to make sure that there is no immediate shock of cool air coming in that causes the zirconia to fracture. It might not fracture you the same moment. It could fracture to you the day of delivery. It could fracture to you about a month, 2 months, 3 months. So what is important is that we have to make sure that this thing is taken care of to cool it down slowly. All right. So this is the glaze that we put on there. So in order to create a three-dimensional effect of the enamel on the tooth, we have actually, what I have actually done is I've actually used glaze powders that pretty much every company has offered. We mix it up to a honey consistency. Okay, so this doesn't help to tell you that you have to go out there to buy a Mio just because everybody tells you to do that. You just have to be able to use the same glaze paste that you have, glaze powder, mix it with your thick glazing liquid, mix it to a high honey consistency, and you're gonna paint onto your tooth. So when you're painting on a tooth, it will leave you the ridges that you see on the picture. So on the picture itself, it tells you that, hey, how come I have a little bit more effect on my tooth now? It actually brings out the 3D effect of the tooth if we apply the glazing paste to help it to get a little more depth. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's dead. So the depth effect helps it by putting in the glaze that we have. If you have Mio or you have Motion or whichever staining kit or 3D kit that you have, those will go on there just like that. But if for people who doesn't have those, if you have Nortaki ceramic, you can actually just use the same glazing paste, mix it up, paint it on there, and then just create the lobes. Okay, you can create paracamadas, you can create developmental depressions by having depth into the same tooth structure. That gives you the effect that you need without having to do any more micro grinding or micro laying on your porcelain. Everything is pretty much done beforehand. Okay, even on the same areas of pink, you can actually polish them down, give you the same effect that you want, and give it the look that you want to go with just by applying this. This is actually all done in about 3 powder build-ups. We did not have to do anything to the ceramics because this is pretty much the material itself coming out. Again, if you want to get the same zirconia, this is an A2 shade. If you want to get this zirconia to be lighter, we just have to sinter this in a lower temperature, actually a higher temperature. It gives the material to be darker effect. So if the patient wants it to be darker, you can make sure that your high temperature of your oven is changed. Every different degree helps it to get better. Okay? This is the final result in the mouth. So this is a very close-up picture, and the patient wanted something more natural effect, doesn't want anything truly straight. So we kind of give it a little more jaggedy effect to the tooth. This was done by Dr. Isaias here at LSU. She just delivered this about 3 weeks ago, and the patient is very happy wearing this in his mouth, and we love the results of how it came out.
I'd like to thank Edwin for your presentation today. Thank you for your testimonial as well on Zirlux Transitions. We're happy that you're happy with the results as well. Thank you all for joining.